Hello everyone! The ZD Ultimate Legend is among the best controllers this year, and I believe it should be around the top 5. In today's video, we're gonna see what makes it so good. Starting with the design, it has a frosted faceplate, but I'm not sure if this is on the later revision or this is an early version, because I've seen some pictures online of the same controller with a clear faceplate, and this Fight For Me logo is a nice detail. This controller has rubberized grips, and the grips are in the black color, which is great, because if the color was gray it would get yellow over time. Also, the texture is not too rough, which in my opinion was a problem with the Apex 5. We have 2 back buttons with clicky mouse switches, and 2 pedals with tactile switches. We also have trigger stoppers and 2 shortcuts on the top. Now, the pedals of this controller are a bit problematic, because they're too close to the back buttons. When you're playing, they keep rubbing on your finger. You can get around this by repositioning your middle finger, but it's not very comfortable either. For some people, this might be a deal breaker. Not only that, but the pedal design is not too solid. If you push them in a certain angle, they will come off. But it's not very easy and you must put a lot of force to it. If you remove the pedals, you'll still have this plastic piece sticking out of the controller, which is less annoying than the pedals, but it still gets in the way. I believe that they should go with a hollow design here, like the GuliKit KK3 Max. There is a solution to remove these pedals entirely, we'll see that in the teardown. And I was concerned with the trigger stoppers too, but the good news is that they're recessed and you can barely feel them. In fact, you must really dig your nails to flip it. The shortcuts on the top are on a perfect position, and they're very good to use. The shutter buttons are also nice and responsive. Now the face buttons are clicky and they have a super short travel distance. It reminds me a lot of the buttons on the Beitong Zeus too. And because of that, they're a bit more sensitive than regular clicky buttons. The controller has anti-friction rings, and the analog stick has a metal shaft. There is no internal restriction, so the stick will touch the rings. And the stick cap is removable. The D-pad is the same as the ZD-O Plus Excellence. It uses clicky mouse switches and it's super responsive. The D-pad is removable, and you have 4 extra options that comes in the box. These are the same as the ones used in the ZDO Plus Excellence. My favorite one is the stick D-pad. And here's a look at the other ones. The cross D-pad though is the hardest one to remove. As you may know, the faceplate of this controller is removable, and the sticks have replaceable modules. This is very good because it's super easy for the user to replace the stick if something happens. Or you could also change it to an entirely different module. The stock ones are Hall Effect modules from Genful. I also got these 2 other options. This one is from K-Silver, and this other one is potentiometer sticks from Alps. And just looking at the design of this module, I can tell that they wasted a golden opportunity here. If they increased the height of the plastic around the stick module, they could have made an internal restriction mechanism, similar to what we have on the Mechanic G5 Pro V2. With this mechanism, the stick feels smoother and it won't hit the anti-friction rings. Apart from that, the modules are super easy to insert and remove. Just be careful with the right side, because this black thing here is the battery, and you certainly don't want to puncture this. The face buttons are removable too. And in the box you get an extra set with the switch layout. To turn on this controller, you must press a button combination. And when turned on, we can see the RGB lights. It reminds me a lot of the Big One Rainbow 2 Pro. There is also a charging dock, which is sold separately. It can wake up the Nintendo Switch, and it has motion controls. There is a button combination to remap the shortcut buttons or even record macros. And this button here works as a capture button. This controller has HD rumble too. And here's a quick tour through the smartphone app. On PC, it has X input and a switch mode. Testing the analog sticks, they have no dead zones, no cardinal snapping. Every time you turn this controller on for the first time, the sticks will be uncalibrated. But as you move the stick around, it autocorrects. This is a clever idea since you can change the modules repeatedly. After calibrated, the outer dead zone is very small. So on the first time you turn on the controller, the circularity won't be perfect, but after a few rotations, it will be corrected. And the stick resolution is the same, even for the other modules. The D-pad is just perfect. The diagonals are easy to press, the input is consistent, and it has a nice center pivot. The triggers are pretty good. And you must have noticed that these triggers have vibration motors. However, I tested it and it doesn't work. At least on Broforce, which is a compatible game with this feature. Speaking about latency, this controller has the lowest stick latency in the market. And the button latency isn't bad too. Now let's do a teardown and see the build quality. These buttons here seems to be removable. Let's see if we can remove them. To disassemble the controller, you'll have to reach the screws hidden under this tube. You'll have to remove the tube, and there's a paper protection under it. And when I removed the back shell, the buttons already fell off. And you can see here that the buttons are removable. And you can reassemble the controller without these buttons, or make a 3D printed button and insert it here. This completely solves the discomfort problem with the back paddles. And here's how the buttons are assembled. Here's the other back buttons. The battery has 1500 milliamps of capacity. And here we can see the metal pivot for the triggers. Here's the trigger stoppers. And on the other side of this board, we can already see one of the switches for the face buttons. And this seems to be an optical switch. It's not soldered to the board, and we can see a sensor right here. There's nothing on the other side too. The HT rumble motors are attached via pogo pins. And the Dpad switches are not optical. We can see the points where they are soldered to the board. And I think that's all to see here. Here's a look at the Dpad and the face buttons. And these here are the LEDs for the tube. Moving to the final thoughts, the ZD Ultimate Legend is super complete. The sticks and D-pad performs great. Not to mention the modular design. Together with the optical switches for the face buttons, it contributes for a long durability. You get an additional button layout and multiple options for the D-pad. There are 7 shortcuts with remap, macro, and turbo functions, and a smartphone app to easily configure everything. The only cons that I can see with this controller is the lack of a D input mode, and the bad ergonomics of the back paddles. Thankfully, it's easy to be customized by the user, and you can remove them or replace them with a 3D printed solution. For now, I'll be leaving my unit without the back paddles. I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna just cover these holes or make another 3D printed button. And that's all for this video. The links to the ZD Ultimate Legend are in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.